Sunday GUNDAY. What's going on, everyone? Back with another episode of Stuff and Things, and today we're going back to the build versus buy discussion. Here I have a pretty much stock Glock 17 and then a Glock 17-esque build that I put together. I have videos on both of these guns on the channel already, so if you want to check those out, you can check the links up in the card or in the description down below. Now, the one we're taking a look at today, I have not shot yet, much like all of the guns that I review here, but if I had to guess, I would say it's going to be better than both of these guns here. There is nothing but high quality parts, a ton of functionality, and a lot to talk about with today's choice, so let's just get right into the ZEV OZ9. ZEV Technologies has been known for making very high-end Glock parts for a while now, and the OZ9 is really no different. This is their first complete 9mm pistol with everything built entirely from the ground up by ZEV. At the core of this pistol is their solid steel receiver that runs the entire length of the frame. This means that the locking block is fully integrated and the extended rails provide much more surface area to contact the slide, leaving this thing feeling smoother than almost any other gun in this category. Having this single piece receiver design for the slide to track on should minimize vibration and recoil energy by dispersing it along the receiver and the grip. You'll probably notice that the steel receiver is actually showing in the front rail section, and there is a single pin located right in front of the trigger guard to remove it from the frame. The modularity of the system alone makes this thing extremely cool in my eyes, but let's move on to what else makes this thing unique. The slide came standard with ZEV sights, a red fiber optic front post, and a black serrated rear, front and rear serrations, 3 window cutouts to bring down the weight and increase the cyclic speed, and of course it comes ready to mount up a red dot. For the barrel, I went with the optional threaded version in order to mount up the ZEV Pro Comp V2. And believe it or not, this is actually the first pistol I own that I actually wanted to try a comp on. The trigger is the Pro Curve Face Glock trigger, which is completely worked over, and it actually lives within the receiver, which makes grip swaps extremely easy. Speaking of the grip, there is some what I would consider to be mild texturing all around it, and it has a steeper, more natural angle than a Glock. It allows you to have a more forward hand position, a higher purchase with the undercut trigger guard, and it already feels like a natural extension of my hand. On the bottom is a massive mag well, since this thing could pretty much be used as a competition gun, so you can slam mags home with ease. A high quality pistol should also have a high quality light, so up front I'm running a Surefire X300U-A. The quick detach is nice and it looks right at home on the metal rail underneath the comp. To top it all off, the OZ9 ships with a very nice hard-sided case, all of the springs, plates, and accessories that you will need, as well as 2 17-round Glock mags, because if you haven't figured it out by now, this thing is Glock compatible. So there's a lot of really cool stuff going on with this gun. I had the chance to handle them before and talk with the people at ZEV when I was out at SHOT Show. This is actually going to be my first time shooting one, and for the most part this has been my desk side gun for the past month or so. This is that new gun that you get but you haven't taken out to the range yet, and it sits by my computer while I'm editing and things like that, and it just already feels so good. I've been itching to shoot it and I don't want to wait any longer, so let's head out here and put down a first mag. Alright, I got the freshly loaded Magpul 17-round Glock mag here. Let's see how this thing does. I couldn't even tell you the last time I shot a comped gun like this. Oh my god, dude. Oh, I'm gonna be shooting this one a lot. Alright guys, back for my first mag impressions. I'm gonna keep these kind of quick because I definitely want to get back to shooting this thing. Let's start off with the comp, because this is something, like I mentioned, I never really covered on the channel before. I have shot a few different pistols like this that do have compensators on them. I do own a revolver that comes ported, which is similar to that. But putting a big chunky piece of metal on the end of a gun here like this never really stuck out to me, because I tend to gravitate towards guns that you can conceal carry a little bit better. Now this gun, as you can tell, let me get a stock 17 to compare it to. As you can tell, it is a pretty large footprint. It is almost the exact same size, but then with that compensator on there, it just adds that much more. So right off the bat, this is obviously not a gun that I'm going to be carrying, but it is definitely a whole lot of fun to shoot out on the range. For the record, I believe Zev did just release their OZ9 in the 19 size platform, so maybe I will have to visit something like that in the future. But for now, I'm going to be tackling this review as a what makes this gun fun and what makes it unique and stand out from some of the other options like I showed in the beginning. So the comp, like I mentioned, this is not something I'm into all that much. However, this thing rocks. Like you could probably see my smile there right from the beginning. This thing shot probably flatter than any other 17 that I've ever shot. Definitely flatter than the stock Glock 17 MOS. Definitely flatter than my Razorback that I put together about 2 or 3 weeks ago. There are just so many things, not only the comp, but the overall design of the gun that makes this thing shoot, track, and get right back on target. A lot of times when you're shooting with red dot, as it recoils, you sort of lose that dot out of the frame of the RMR for a second. This one, it stayed right in line the entire time. So once I get used to this trigger, I guarantee I'm going to be able to shoot this thing accurately and very fast at the same time. So what else makes it shoot flat? Besides the comp on there, you obviously have the window cuts on there, saving down on some weight, and it makes this thing track a hell of a lot faster. You have this awesome grip on here. The angle feels better than a stock Glock, which is pretty obvious, but this actually feels way better in my hand than even a Polymer 80. The angle, I would say, is about the same as a Polymer 80, but the texturing and everything and the little bit of contours that it has, it just fits my hand really, really nicely. So those are some things that you could do to a gun similar to this one right here. It has an improved grip over the Glock. It has a bunch of window cuts and it tracks really fast and flat and smooth. But what makes the OZ9 even better is the rail system in here. So I typically don't like doing this on video, but since you guys already saw the inside, here it is again. Here you can see the entire serialized part of this gun here, which actually drops right into the frame. The trigger, all the components, and everything are attached in here. So all I have to do is remove this pin up front and I can pull this entire assembly out. So what happens is when this thing is recoiling back, the recoil is dispersed amongst that whole metal piece. If you compare that to these other two guns that I have here, those are dispersing it between two separate pieces which are mounted into the actual polymer of the frame. You have more points of contact and it is just the slide riding on the rails in there, and then the grip is just kind of there to house everything. So right off the bat, I'm definitely a very big fan of that, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with that in the future, just like the 19 they just came out with. So other than that, the sights are okay. You can almost co-witness with them. I believe that the dot sits a little bit higher because of the way that the RMR sits mounted on this slide. That's super hard to tell on video, but just take my word for that. So everything else, the fit and finish, the way this slide feels, the serrations are great. There's just a lot of stuff that I really like about this gun already. The grip texturing feels good. The controls are easy to get to. The magazine release is great. It has some texturing on it and it is sort of extended, but just towards the front of the button, so I don't think I'll accidentally be dropping any mags out of this gun. They got a really solid package going on here, and then there's the trigger as well, and we're gonna talk about that after I shoot this thing some more. So I'm gonna load up with what ammo I have left. I'm probably going to shoot through my entire case that I have today, and I'll be back in a few minutes to give you guys some of my final thoughts on the Zev OZ9. Now let's see how this thing does in the accuracy department from here at about 10 yards. I'm gonna put 10 rounds, slowed and controlled, down on paper, and then we'll go take a look at it. Now, for not zeroing this RMR other than a laser sight, I'd say that that's not too bad there. Could also be my grip a little bit. Maybe I can adjust a few things, but I think I'll bring the sight over a little bit to the right and up so we're hitting dead center here. 7 more rounds. Definitely brought it up to here. Had one flyer, so let's ignore that one, but yeah, I'd say that's a pretty good group. Alright guys, back for some of my final thoughts on the ZEV OZ9. I have to apologize for there being no mag dump and no bonus mag either. I kind of came to a short conclusion there. I was having a blast shooting and running around the range, and then when I came back to fill up mags, I realized that I legit did run out of ammo, so I'm gonna have to bring this thing out again in the future to shoot it some more. Another good follow-up to something like this would probably be that 19 that they release with the modular frames. I could swap this thing out for something different. There's just a lot of cool things that you can do with a platform like this because it is so modular and it is a shooter for sure. So you already know how flat it shoots with the ergonomics and the nice cutouts and the comp and everything like that, but how about this trigger now? Let's see if I can get it in some good lighting here. I do like that the face is pretty much flat across the front of it. It does have a little bit of a curve to it with that trigger safety in the middle there. With that out of the way, there is a nice smooth take up back to a wall. No grit, no springiness or anything. And then once I'm there, might be a little bit of creep until you get to that break. The reset, slowly let out. Definitely tactile and audible. Should be right on top of the wall. A little bit of creep. And then that nice crisp break. So to be honest, I was kind of always on the fence about ZEV triggers. I've felt some in the past that didn't just really stand out to me. They kind of felt, I don't know, for how much they cost, it just didn't make sense to me. I felt some in the past with like a lot of slop in them, both left and right, and maybe it was the person who installed it, but I just never bought one for myself because of what I had experienced with them. This, on the other hand, has completely changed my mind. The trigger is phenomenal. I can shoot it really well. The break is a little bit lighter for my liking, but then again, this is not going to be a gun that I'm going to be carrying, like I mentioned. For someone who shoots competition, which I obviously do not, but this could definitely be a good competition gun. So now that seems like a lot of praise for the OZ9, but there have to be some kind of cons to them, and honestly there aren't that many for me. One of the things that I did notice that when I had a fully loaded magazine and the slide was closed, I would kind of slam the mag in there, and because of that big magazine well on there, I wasn't actually pushing the mag up into the gun as far as possible, and it actually wasn't seating. So there were a few times there where I would put a mag in, I would rack the slide, and it kind of felt funny, so I would press check, and you could see that there was no round in the chamber. A lot of people on the internet like to talk shit about people who press check their guns, which really makes no sense to me because just in a situation like that, maybe you're putting the gun that you carry on in the morning, throw a magazine in there, you think you chambered one, but the magazine wasn't seated fully. You don't know because it's tight, you put that in your holster, and then you go about your day. God forbid you ever have to use that, you pull it out and click. Now what? You got a dead gun. So that is one con that I noted. With some base plates on here, that would absolutely take care of that issue because they're going to be hanging out a little bit, and you can definitely slam that home a little bit easier. But other than that con, the magazine well is also a pro to me because it allows you to put downwards pressure on this gun when shooting one-handed. You may have seen me sort of smile there where I swapped this over to my left hand and I was shooting pretty proficiently, which I'm not a left-handed shooter, so it kind of like took me by surprise. But yeah, this is definitely a confidence inspiring gun as far as shootability goes. I ran it through the plate racks pretty well, and for the most part I've been shooting this thing better than a completely stock Glock. Now it doesn't mean everyone's going to be shooting it like that, but that is just me, and I definitely like a lot of the upgrades that come with the OZ9. So overall, this thing was really designed and created for balance. The thing just feels really good in my hand. There's less recoil, less muzzle flip, faster follow-up shots, basically everything that you would want out of a high-performance gun like this. Out of these three guns right out of the box, I definitely think that I've been shooting this one the best. So if I had to pick just one gun to bring out on the range and shoot some targets and have some fun with, I'm probably going to end up going with something like this. I think they have a really solid platform going on here, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else they do with that modularity in the future. Now, I really wish I had more ammo so I could shoot this thing some more, but I guess stay tuned on maybe Instagram and I guess again here on the channel, and I will try to revisit and do something else with this gun in the future. By the way, this is completely off topic, but the OZ9 is basically like a companion to the Atom Smasher 2.0. If you haven't seen this full Zev build that I've done in the past, you can check it out at the link right up here. These things go hand in hand. So that's all that I got for today. If you guys have any questions on the OZ9, let me know in the comments down below. Again, let me know what you guys think about the whole build versus buy thing. This is kind of like bordering along that line of building and buying. You can get a lot of what you want and kind of make it your own at the same time. So it's pretty cool. Now, if you're new to this channel, consider clicking subscribe. I make new videos every week, and that's going to be all for today. So as always, thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you in the next one.